There we go, so we've got a brand new cube here. We're just going to show you how to remove the inner tubes if you want to go tubeless on a brand new bike. So first thing you want to do, let the air out of the tyre. You can take the valve core out of the tube, but then I always tend to forget to put it back in afterwards. So the quickest way, just let the air out. And once it starts to get low, just push it with your arm, with your chest, whatever you need to get the last bit of air out. That will especially help if you've got, in this case, a double down tyre, which is a double casing. That can sometimes be relatively tight to remove from the rim. So to do that, I'm just pulling the tyre, I'm kind of lifting and levering back at the same time, just to pop the bead off all the way round. Spin the tyre round, same again that side, all the way round, nice and easy. Now once you get back to the valve again, you can let last bit of air out, because you always end up with a bit more in there, because after you remove it from the rim, there's a bit more space. So next you want your Pedro's tyre lever. So lever up enough of a gap there to where you can get the tyre underneath, the tyre lever underneath, and lever. And now, very important is to not try and pull it off straight away, because it will be incredibly tight. You want to go round the whole wheel there and just push that bead down into the middle well of the wheel. So doing that has now given us a load more slack, and the tyre will just come straight off nice and easy. And we just go all the way around. So now I like to put the valve at the bottom, and then the tube can just hook out all the way around, nice and carefully, because you never know if you're going to need to use this tube as a spare in the future. So something you can tie up, put in your riding bag and keep to one side. So cube, send the wheels out pre-taped. The easiest way to tell if yours is pre-taped or not with tubeless tape is to just gently pick with your tyre lever, and if you can get underneath it and pull it up, then it's likely not tubeless tape. Sometimes it can be, but if you're like that, you'll have to retape it. In this case we don't, so you're going to take your valves, in this case we're using stands, so pop them out, and remove the collar. Close the valve core back up. Now, where we had an inner tube in there, we've already got a hole. If you haven't got a hole, you need to be very careful that where you're about to pierce is definitely the valve hole and not a spoke hole, because it looks like that would be the valve, but it's actually a spoke. So after you spent all the time retaping, you can then find out quite easily that you've just put a hole in one of your spoke holes, and I definitely haven't done that before. So put your valve through, and then you want to take your collar, wind up your collar. Now I'm pressing with my thumb onto the top of the valve just to press into the rubber to get a good seal. You don't have to be super tight, and when you let go, that will tighten up nicely, and that's nice and tight on the seal. So next thing, make sure your valves are lined up with your logos, which is the most important thing, obviously. And then I like to start Next thing to do, obviously we've just taken it off a new bike, but make sure your rotation's correct. So your cassette will, in most cases, if not all, always be on the right. You want to then make sure that it's facing the correct way before you set up, because it's really, really annoying. Again, I definitely haven't done it. To do your tubeless setup and then find that you put the tyre on backwards. So take a moment just to check. Pop the bead back on, all apart from a little bit about that size, and that will allow us to pour in the sealant. So this is a fresh bottle of sealant. Make sure the lid's on first, hold it on and just give it a good shake. And what that does is that will loosen up all of the kind of sealing particles that are in the sealant and allows them to not be stuck all at the bottom of the bottle. Because if they're at the bottom of the bottle and you pour it, you're just going to get the carrier. You're not getting the actual sealing globules. So good shake, and then as quickly feasibly as you can, pour in the side the required amount of sealant. You can find out what the exact correct amount is depending on the brand of sealant which you're using, but personally there's no need to be super exact. Just from experience you can tell when you've got enough. So now the sealant's in the tyre, so at the bottom I've rotated the wheel around so the sealant puddle is now here, which is encased in the tyre, so there's no mess, there's no sealant everywhere. So you want to, like we did at the start, push the tyre bead into the very centre of the wheel, and that will allow us enough slack, hopefully pop this tyre on nice and easily. Might have to use a tyre lever, but we'll see how we go. Trying to do it for the camera facing it. Right, I'm going to have to use my thumbs, so if it's tight you can push with your thumbs away from you. And then if you want a bit more slack, just go around, a bit more slack. And there we go. Nice and easy. No shouting, no tyre levers, nice and simple. And this is with a double down casing tyre as well. So the next thing is you want to make sure that the bead of the tyre is the correct side of the valve, which it actually isn't in this case. So if I tried to pump that up now, you'd just get a rush of air and nothing would actually go into the tyre. So you want to make sure that the valve is in the middle of the two beads. So once you've got that, you're ready to put some air in. See, under your valve core, this is a brand new tyre, so I think we should be able to do it with the valve core still in, but let's find out. So seating tubeless tyres is all about the fast rush of air. So straight away, nice and easy. There we go. So it's very important that you don't go over the maximum safety pressure for the tyre. If you're struggling to pop the bead out, look into using things like tyre soap. Make sure that everything's nice and even, and just don't go over. It's just not worth having a big explosion, sealant everywhere. Just not worth doing. So I've just spun the wheel, made sure the tyre is seated out on the rim properly. And I've gone a little bit above the pressure that you would usually ride at. Now this is just to help the sealant seal up and help the sealant soak into the sidewalls of the tyre and just seal everything up nicely. So next thing you want to do, just give the tyre a good spin and just tip it, and then tip it the other way. So that's spread the sealant round. Give it a shake. Turn it, give it a shake. And that is that. You've got a nicely seated tubeless tyre. If you're struggling to get the tyre to pop out, like I said, it's the rush of air, so you can remove the valve core. If you've got a spoke key like these, you can use number 11, fits perfectly onto the valve core. So you can remove it and then get the bigger rush of air into your tyre, and then once you pull the pump off, cover it with your finger and then quickly put the valve core back in. You should be able to do it without losing too much air. But on a new tyre you should be able to do it, and a new valve if it isn't clogged up with the valve core in. So yeah, that's how to seat a brand new tubeless tyre on a brand new bike.